Hello guys, I decided to show a few interesting fight from the HOTA factory campaign's 4th level Tomb Raiders. I think it's a very cool, very cool map, and I recommend it to everyone if you haven't played it. And there are a few funky fights, and I decided to make a little compilation of them. Also, I wanted to finish this campaign as quickly as possible, turn-wise. So often I don't have the stats which would be optimal. So some of the fights needed some creativity for my place. First fight is a hero. I think it's like Nagash or something like that. His favorite spell is Fireball. Fireball is Nagash. I don't know the Naga specialist. Fire Shield is a very annoying spell, but there's an easy trick. So basically, if you don't really hit directly with the Nagas, but you only use magic, then you won't take any damage. And as you can know, you can resurrect, or I don't know, fix the automatons, like the 4th level units with the 2nd level unit. So, and here's the place where actually we have to use Ice Bolt, other and shoots. But that's about it. And this is 127. The second one, I think it's a Necro hero about one something. I can't find it, one moment. Skolex, yeah. Excuse me. So it's the left side here. We already gathered enough resources to get here. This hero, there's one thing which hero really likes to do, and that's to defend against offensive spells. And obviously he has some units which are pretty strong, but not enough strong to deal with me instantly, so I can finish the Bone Dragons, at least one stack in time, and I think that's basically enough for me. And he now has defense against every offensive spell, but we don't need offensive spells every time. It's enough to shoot them down. And at the end, the skellies remain, but that doesn't matter that much. The skeletons are pretty slow units. We resurrect the automatons. We are not in a hurry always. When we cast clone, we also can use clones to bait. And that's about it. It's not really a super interesting fight from this point, so I guess I will just skip it. Okay, the next fight is at the left side of the map with a hero called Mormoikos, I think. He's a vampire specialist, and we had to fly here. also likes to defend against offensive spells. It's a very, very typical setup, which is useful in a lot of fights, not only in the shown ones, but in any other. So we have 3 stacks of mechanics, I guess that's how the unit is called, and 3 stacks of automatons, and then we just simply defend our shooters like this. There's not too much to talk about. Usually we need some clones to resurrect the units, but there's really not too much, so I think we can also skip here. Yeah, we needed 1 clone, but not a very tough fight. Okay, the next one, I think it's... how it's called? I know it's a very high level Adela. Let me see. Not HOTA Tomb, not Ukumi, but we're getting close. I guess it's Tagete, indeed. And we gathered some harpy hacks, and this hero is an insanely high level Adela. Now, Adela, when she has a high level, she's blessed is super strong, so now his units deal insane damage, as you can see. But if we hypnotize these units, interestingly, the effect doesn't last longer. Now every opponent unit is hypnotized, we resurrect everything, and that's about it. And now I learn. Next fight. We go up on the map, and I think we didn't really had any interesting fight before this one, so I just flew right to this hero called Urkumi. This fight is pretty tricky. He has insane amount of earth elementals, which if you get close to me, but we can do one nice trick which I haven't shown before. So if you actually hit we also can blow up cloned automatons, which deal insane amount of damage. So no, not that insane as the blast before, but it's pretty cool. I have to point out that this fight is rather difficult because We actually really have to be careful where we go so we don't get hit. We can't really afford getting hit. I found also another way to win this fight with quicksand, but that takes a bit too much time. We actually got hit, but only by 7 elementals. That's not that much. I think 7 is manageable, and from this point we are more or less fine, because if we manage to kill the magma elementals, the earth elementals are simply so slow that they don't matter that much. So, but the start of this fight is really tricky. And now we are also a tough situation because we really have to avoid stacks. But if I look right, we have enough space at this corner, because these have speed 4 and these have speed 6. And I think the loss is pretty much the same as before. Now we fly up the map and find Griffin Specialist Hero. His name is Volotomon. This is an already known method. The only difference is that this hero has shooters, so but he decides to shoot not the right unit. Obviously, Blast is very strong on Griffins, as they have a pretty big damage range. But I think everyone knows how to will this go. In ideal case scenario, I think Maskers is the best spell here. Indeed, and I knew that back then as well. Also, my enemy really likes to remove my curse. And when every one of opponent's units reaches here, we don't really have enough time to resurrect everything, so we have to be kinda quick. And we also have to wait with the units, hit the archers and then go back before the archers decides to shoot something more useful or non-resurrectable. From this point, basically this fight still lasts for like 4 minutes, because my opponent's defense is very high. Also, I decided to hypnotize opponent's units. A really cool spell. And from this point the fight is decided. I guess I won't surprise anyone, so let's go next. After finishing one moton, we actually can go down and from that point we get infinite movement point when we are in the underground zone. So we actually can do more interesting fights in one turn. I think the first one is I want to show is against ghost dragons on cursed ground, which means that we can only use level 1 spells, which is pretty tricky, but doable. And this fight is really short and cool, so this is the first fight where I will have actual losses. Because I lose those harpies. But on this fight you can lose units, but it's not recommended to, because you can get so little number of units that you really have to think twice when losing units. And here we go. And this turn had another fight. I should have named them by against KO to get the tent. I guess maybe green or red Keymaster's tent. And this fight is interesting. This hero is a very high level Giselle, so we will have always will have level 1 spell power. The thing is that there are a few spells which doesn't really care about how much spell power do you have. For example, Quicksand. Now, if someone made this fight, he already knows that this map is already filled with Quicksand, but not everywhere, which makes our job easier. So now this map has even more Quicksands. My opponent really likes to use mass haste, but it's not enough, I think. The unfortunate thing that we deal basically no damage, so this fight takes a while. And before doing anything interesting, we hide our units. I wanna show a little bit more of this fight because it actually happens to be that at some point my opponent will find a way, because these quicksands are not that lucky. But we can't really allow ourselves to lose actual fighting units and not harpies. Harpies are pretty whatever. This fight is rather tricky. I don't have to think that much now, because I already do that thinking, but I guess at the fight I had to think a bit. Now the opponent's units are getting closer, so we actually deal some damage, but still not too much, so we really have to use a lot of shots. And also we can use clones. Now these clones are a bit tricky. Why they are so tricky? The thing is that they disappear after I believe maybe 2 casts. We can prolong their existence by using artifacts which actually prolong the duration of our spells, like Ring of Conjuring, Cape of Conjuring, and there is also one more artifact, I don't remember its name. And we don't have too much of them, but we actually can prolong by one turn maybe. That's Ring of Conjuring. And from this point, the opponent decided to not use more haste. Now I deal actual damage because we already have the blast, the clone, and we already have the quicksand, so I don't have to cast quicksand all the time. But I guess one more is rather useful. And the last stack. And here we go. In this turn we go back to the I don't know what airship or how it is called, and we go to get the next tent, which is in a totally different area. This fight is a little bit changed, so it changed as it was at when this map came out. This fight is something really stupid. So at this point is an event which takes all of your mana. This fight is impossible to do without mana, and I think maybe if we had like twice as many army. And here is an battle which gives you mana, but I think it gives like 40, which is not enough for me. Not with these ridiculous stats. But we can have one trick. Let me stop at this point. We did not reach that event before, and also this fighting map is just beautiful. This obstacle stops opponent from leaving that place where he is. Then we can get closer. Now what we do, we always resurrect the automatons, and our opponent won't be able to get closer. We are still pretty tight on mana, so I will use one more trick. The trick is that we resurrect the bigger stack of automatons first, then with the clone we stand on this place. Now the AI values more the 94 clone than the one automaton. So with this, it will attack the clones instead. So with this setup, with the clones, we can actually do this. And it's pretty nice. Now, actually these Haspits are so strong that we ran out of shots, See, we still have a ton of them, so I guess we go further. Nothing really happening. My opponent casts anti-magic all the time, so we can't really shut those units. And I guess this fight is about this. It's pretty tight, but nothing special. If we are enough creative, of course. Now, at this point, I think, yeah, we ran out of shots. With this point, we managed to get the, I think it's the purple tent. And then we simply go back to our area and we can go again the underground section, and I think our next fight is Telchion. This fight, I think I will never forget this fight. This fight is the hardest on this map, if you ask me. So the thing is that this hero likes to summon water elemental. A lot of them. Actually, so much of them that we can't really deal with them. As you can see, I decided to get a manipulation where with one clone I hit 3 stacks at once. HOTA has fixed RNG, so that's not that hard to do. And the name of the game here is HOTA, and to deal enough damage that we kill more water elementals than he summons in one turn. Because at this point the number of water elementals is just getting more and more, and they are super annoying. So for first we have to class clone blast to get enough stacks. And as you can see, even with this amount of damage we can't even have the starting stack. I go there with a clone, so he will go back and shut the important stack. The genies are pretty useful. They deal a nice amount of damage, but because of retaliation, it's pretty tricky to use them, because we always have to use them as when they don't get hit, because we need basically all of them. And I think my opponent has like 1000 of mana, so he won't run out. He really won't. We have to kill more water elementals than he can summon in one turn. There's no way that we deal enough damage, or we can deal enough damage, but there's no way to survive that much turns and don't run out of mana. So basically every move is calculated here. But slowly we get to reach that sweet spot where we actually deal more damage than 80. As we slowly killing the stacks in the area below us, and in the area above us we are also getting pretty nice damage with the explosions. So as you can see, opponent has 3 stacks now, which is really not that much. Two stacks. We're getting closer to the end of this fight, luckily. Although it's still we have to be very careful to not lose automatons, so we have to take some extra time to resurrect them. But now this summon was pretty lucky, and we dealt an explosion on both stacks. I accidentally decided to also make explosive the main stack, but obviously we can't do that because we need one stack and it's not the big one. I think we can finish the stack up with the genies. Sort of. Almost. The tough thing from this point that we deal less damage as we don't have the bow of sharpshooter yet. We actually can catch bow of sharpshooter in this map, but not at this point. This is a longer fight, but I decided that I want to show the whole thing of it because I think it's a pretty cool fight. Like, it's not very repetitive. There are repetitive fights, not as repetitive as, I don't know, some short ones with infinite ballista or some insanely long. And here we go. Quicksand tricks, we get Orb of Diving Rain, and Orb of Diving Rain is very important in our next fight against Tonant, which is the fire elemental hero here. And as you can see, we don't bring too much units. Basically, my opponent is so fast that he would kill any other units, and this fight is also filled with quicksand, so we can't really run away. But the Gold Dragon is pretty fast, and now we have Water Orb, so we deal huge damage. The Fire Elemental is weak against fire spells, so this fight is just flying back and forth and shooting Ice Bolt. And okay, yeah. You remember that I went a bit risky. Like, yeah, the dragon has 5 health points, and here we go. Okay, let me think. Did this turn have any more fights? Yeah, I actually decided to beat Azure Dragons. In this fight I think we also lose one unit. but all of our stacks is so strong that the opponent doesn't really want to go nearby, and he goes for the weaker stack, so it's a pretty nice fight. And also we have Yoke, I don't know. So this hero has very strong offensive spells, which means that we can't really do anything but cast anti-magic on one of our stacks at the start. We also have some, and I decided to show this, some artifacts which gives us speed. It's very important. Okay. So as you can see, first I cast anti-magic on my automatons. Automatons doesn't have Rito, so and also this Miss Morale was pretty useful, but I think it's beatable. This hero is beatable without it, but it will come really handy, so we can finish the quick units. And now our opponent has only slow units with level speed 5. What we do, we show at the start, we hide the automatons here, then we fly with the dragon here, go down, go left, and we need now wait for one turn. Hit. And now we go up again. Unfortunately, sometimes the opponent loves to block both of our paths, but we can't really do anything against that. This fight is really about kiting skills, which I do have after like 1 decade of playing PvP. And the same thing again for well 10 more minutes. After we have only 1 stack left, the fight becomes extremely easy, but with 2 stacks we really have to calculate our steps. And the one more important thing that we always have to have anti-magic. Whenever it falls down, our opponent loses its mind, and I think we don't have slow. That's why I never use it. With slow this fight would be much easier. And I think that's the fight for 3-4-2, but there is one last one, this hero Flaget. Now this fight has a very stupid strategy. I don't know any other way to beat it, and I don't think it exists. We cast 1 ice bolt. Now opponent won't reach us, we fly back and forth. Opponent casted anti-magic, but after several turns, I think it has like 13, the anti-magic falls off, and we can cast 1 more ice bolt, and we fly back and forth again. And we do this for 5 more minutes. Funnily enough, the opponent is so strong that even when we have on only 7 ifrit, we can still can't really hit it. I don't recall if the opponent has any offensive spells, but I think this is enough. And we get some Pandora. I don't remember what it has. 14 Ifrit Sultans. I never used Ifrit Sultans on this map. Okay. Now, unfortunately, we can't really do more fights in this turn because we ran out of mana. And we also, I think I have had to visit some place. But after flying through the map, we can see the fight against Idea. Yeah, we had to go here. Here's a quest. It requires us to collect, I don't know, I think it's the Statue of Legium, which I don't have, because here is one hex where you can also stand. I guess it's the map makers haven't realized this, so we don't have to do that quest. This fight is terrible. This fight is horrendous. This fight is the worst. So, as you can see, my opponent's favorite spell is Teleport, and he will cast it pretty often. My opponent deals so much damage that we can't really stand any actual hits. After one hit we die by all of his stacks. Maybe the automaton stack is not that strong. So we actually I really had to try for a few units. That's why I casted in these particular moments to have Bless and Precision, which deal extra damage or make extra damage to my shooters to have. And now we actually can slowly finish the diamond golems. But this fight requires a ton of luck, I won't lie, which is not something which you prefer in heroes. Now, this point of this part of the fight is terrible because, as you can see, we can't really get any unit nearby, or cloned units rather, to make repair the automatons. And I found no way to avoid this. But luckily for us, the diamond golems start to slowly die off, and there are still plenty of gold golems, and the gold golems just feel like that the clone is not enough juicy. We have to go for the real stack. But this took a really long time to figure it out. And I think the rest of this fight is pretty obvious what will happen. We finish the automatons, then we slowly finish the gold golems. We have to repair each of our stacks because we don't have that much units. Luckily, when there is not enough golems, I will always hit the cloned units, which is more useful than not. Okay, now I think around 444, because we have to fly to the upper part of the map. We can actually get infinite movement again and fight against the hero Erebarus. Erebarus is on the left side of the map. It also guards a redwood tower, and we need these redwood towers because we can areas where we can fly with the airship. It's a really creative way. I really like this map, and I really like how they solve this. So in this next fight we have to deal with the shooters. Erebarus is a very high level Orin, so their shots just insane. His shots deal so much damage that it kills any of our stacks instantly. So we have to find a way to avoid that. Also, we are on cursed ground, so we can't really use useful spells, or I don't know how could I describe this. We have to use level 1. I guess useful spell is maybe too rough things to say. And as you can see, my opponent haven't shot me even one time. Now he won't. Unfortunately, my opponent is pretty fast, so I have to be careful. And the another unfortunate thing that they will go always after my shooters, whatever I do, and my shooters are not enough fast, so I won't be able to shot. But luckily we have one other unit, the automaton, which doesn't have retaliation, so the trick is that we go nearby with the shooters, the golems go to hit the shooters, and we hide with the automatons, and in the next turn we hit from behind. And basically, yeah, we move up and forth, or back and forth, I don't know, I don't remember, but that's how we deal with this fight. We lost some units, not a big deal. Also here we had to collect, the statue of Lady Legion. We can't always do our ways, and we got the purple tent, which gives us to access to angels. Angels are extremely useful units, everyone knows that. And we have to fight against the shit ton of dragons. That's a theme of this map. And these fights are really similar. We obviously can't really lose any units. The dragons are afraid to hit the angels, and we have elixir of life. I think that we actually had to weaken one of the stacks or something like that, and then we hide to this lower corner, and with this we can actually survive without losing one angel. And then from this point the fight is more or less decided. but we still have to be very careful. Yeah. And that's about it. And on this turn, the last fight is once again in the underground against Hero Irkula. I remember that my first completion this fight seemed impossibly difficult. We don't have a power sharpshooter yet, but for my second completion I figured this fight out in 10 minutes. We have Ice Bolt barely strong enough to finish the Fairy Dragons, which is a necessity. Otherwise, that would hit me. Okay, I don't think you're interested in waiting. My opponent is not strong enough to kill the gold dragons with the genies, but he will try because the genies are not that strong and nothing them. And well, air elementals have a weak point. You surely know what is that. They have a huge damage range, which means that they are extremely weak against curse. So when I cast cursed on them, they basically deal no damage. And with this setup, which to be fair it's a bit counterintuitive setup to actually have one real or not repairable stack and two repairable, and assume that the opponent will go for the repairable stacks, because why wouldn't it? I guess it's not very intuitive, but it works. So this fight. Also my opponent once again decides to summon elementals, but these elementals are much weaker than the previous ones, so it's like pretty much nothing. As you can see, we already deal more damage than we need to, and we also much stronger than the last time. Let's finish this. And I think that was the last fight of interesting fight of all 4-4. Obviously I won't show every fight, and we actually go for the barbarian heroes. This one of them has an artifact which makes you unable to use spells higher than level 2, and the other has artifacts which makes you unable to cast spells higher than lower than level 3. Obviously this one is the first one. I think the artifact's name is Recanter Cloak, and as you can see we don't really use to have any other spells here but Ice Bolt. Also, this hero is a Wolf Raider specialist, but as long as the Wolf Raiders won't come out, we don't care about them. And we are extremely lucky with the Ballista. And at this point we are so much stronger than the opponent, so that we won't shot us, so it doesn't matter even if we extremely lucky is maybe an exaggeration, but I guess here we go. Easy fight. Recounter's cloak. And the other hero has a very high level Goblin Specialist. We need absolutely need elixir of life against this one. As you can see, my opponent has a high stack of shooters, which we can defeat right now. So what we do is to I don't recall why we are hitting the goblins. I guess because it did not had firewall. It doesn't stack doesn't look very scary to me, but I guess I surely had my reason. Yeah, and I always have to be careful that which stack doesn't have firewall. I have to hit that stack. At one point, the opponent will decide that enough of this bullshit that I'm waiting in the walls and you're hitting me with clones. Not even with real units, but because you're so much scared of me. And he will go out. But it will be too late because I will have these nasty little goblin stacks, which, as you can see, can form a wall. Yeah, and I went out, but it's way too late. Very funny way to that we can't get any hit, so we always use a clone and hit with the clone, and then we hit with other units. Cape of Silence. And I think some Akratos is the last barbarian hero. Here we can use pass, but we can't really resurrect or something. These heroes also can have some super skills. I'm just wondering what kind of artist do I have. Elixir of Life. Super. It's necessary at this point. I was trying to beat these heroes before getting Elixir of Life, but I wasn't able to do that. And nice morale, also useful. And I think it's the water orb is also useful. I think this hero is an orc specialist and he's immune to forgetfulness, which is pretty tough. But Air Shield is also pretty useful, so I don't think we'll lose that much. And at this fight we actually had to sacrifice one of our stacks. At the later part, obviously, until my opponent feels that I'm so strong, I don't have to go out, we can deal damage to it. And we use the clone trick once more. Unfortunately, my opponent learned from me, and he was like, you know what? I will use this string as well. And unfortunately, the wall is broken and the opponent will go out. But he's not in a hurry. He's really not in a hurry. It is important to finish the dogs because they would actually able to hit me. The ogres are on the right place. And sooner or later I think the other stack of doggies wants to go out and they deal greater damage. So at this point we have to sacrifice our goblins to get enough juicy meat. And dogs also, since this is not the first time I finished this map, I knew that I won't need those goblins anymore. Go back. I guess I'm gonna hit with the clone again. Yeah. And we sacrificed our goblins. We had to do that because otherwise the opponent would decide to go for some actual useful units. I mean, let's be real, in these particular fights the goblins are also useful. And now my opponent is a barbarian, and we all know barbarians, they're not that smart. And he ran out of mana. So from this point the fight is pretty straightforward. We resurrect our automatons and slowly killing the last of ogres. And as the barbarian heroes are killed, we can actually get later to the map. And well, let me think. We won't have fight because we were flying for a few weeks, but then we have to fight the weirdest fights on this map. First one is Palamon. Palamon is a very high level Petrovich, so he uses insanely strong hypnotize. He can hypnotize any stack but the automaton. And also he has a huge army. Not the luckiest combo. But against hypnotize, we can cast anti-magic, and for some weird reason he decides that at this point with hypnotize I don't really have to do anything. And now we actually casted anti-magic on our important stacks. My opponent is like, whatever, I will cast hypnotize on the less important stacks. Which actually feels more heroes-ish to me, if you ask me, because I always use hypnotize on weak stacks. And my opponent is very wise again that he decides to hypnotize the less important or repairable units. Okay, not hypnotize, whatever I wanted to say. He decides to attack always the repairable stack. It's pretty useful that the hypnotized harpy will stay at this point because he debates my opponent's fangarm. I think it's called fangarm to go down. And now we just go on the other side of map. And yeah, that's it. Okay. And the next fight, I think it's called the Trio P, but it really doesn't matter. So I messed up this fight. I should have brought one angel. Later you see why. I don't know that a less experienced player how supposed to beat this fight. I really have no idea. This is one of the stupidest tricks in my book. This hero is a level 6000 Mephala, which means that if we would hit it with 8 angels, we would deal 1 damage. Not that much. And also, these units are diamond golems. 220 of them. That's way too much. You can't beat them with magic. Maybe the original plan was some cloned automatons or I don't know what. But no, that trick is mainstream and we already use it. Anti-magic because my opponent has offensive spells as well. And now let's use one earthquake to not lose, and quicksand. Have you seen this? The golem ran into the garrison's wall. And there's hero has defense basically against every attacking stuff. Magic, might, whatever. But this garrison wall, it always deals 80 or I don't know how much, 70 damage. Now we fly back. My opponent? Actually, he can use the gate. But as we cast quicksands, let's continue, he will realize that it's not worthy to go through the gate, because this one is 2 turns, going through the gate is 3 turns. Sometimes he will take she's a Mephala. She will take some extra nice walks, really nice. But at the end he also realized that this is the best way to do this. We now just run back and forth. Too bad that it has speed 1 more that he could attack itself botting these hexes. But we are unfortunately not that lucky. And we run back and forth, sometimes go for a little walk for 10 more minutes. And when the number of golems will read us at point to, I don't know, 40, 48 maybe, they feel like, okay, maybe these angels are too strong for me. Obviously not. He deal 1 damage, but the opponent doesn't know that. So he will stuck here. And the place where I made my mistake, I should have brought only 1 angel, and then the number of golems would be somewhat lower when he would think that. But 47 golems is really a high number, but not enough. So what we do, we start to cast Ice Bolt. And this Ice Bolt is really weak, we deals like 50 damage. I don't know if you remember against the Fairy Dragons, it dealt 1000 damage. The same magic Ice Bolt. But if you use a pile of mana, I decided to at the end that 1 damage is better. But you know, this fight was, what was this fight even? Okay, let's go. Next hero, Full Gal. We still have infinite movement in this turn, so we can deal with the next hero. This hero is pretty much whatever. It has clone, but at this point we are used to having clone, and also this hero is one of the weaker ones. So, or we are strong at this point. It's a pretty short fight. I guess I'm just watch it. Clone is a very useful spell if you use it wise, but my opponent wasn't that wise. Let's see. At this turn we also have another fight on Cursed Art against some Necro hero called Tamus. He slows us down. That's what he knows. But he is not strong. Which is kinda needed because most of our tricks doesn't work. My opponent slows us down, we cast haste. And from this point, this fight looks like this. But the thing is that because we cast haste, we obviously can't cast anything else, but we have speed just to bait the mummies. Their speed is 5, which is not enough for this fight. And here we go. Okay. Now we go down and free Agar. And Agar. So here's this hero. He's much stronger than our main hero, or starting hero, or the main hero of the campaign, Frederick. Because it has fixed stats, and we can collect everything with him, and this is like 2 times before the end of the map. From this point, almost all of the difficult fight will be taken with Agar. Frederick has like 2 more fights. Another similar fight to the previous one. This one is a bit more precise. So we barely survive the hits of 1 stack. But what we can do, we can see that there is only 3 dragons left here. So we use clone. Now we have plenty of health at this point, and with the clone we hit the next stack, which would hit us. Or in this case we don't need it, but because could defend, but from this point we know we can defend against that much, and we can hit with clones. Okay, this fight is pretty straightforward. We have to get this arty to get through, and then our main, or almost the main hero, Frederick. I guess Frederick is the theoretical main hero does his last fight against evil Frederick, against himself. I think we will lose a few units here, but from these underground we got some units. As you can see, this Frederick has insane amount of golems, but golems have one weakness. I guess you already know what's that. Our positioning is really important, because if we position ourselves with that, there are two death stacks which will be eaten by the koi. And now we, with the koi, attack 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And luckily our rival monarch survived. And also we don't ate any damage with the gargoyles, which is pretty important. As you can see, this is a bit unusual. There is one dead koi, but that's not that big of a deal. This is the penultimate turn, and we can deal with that damage. But we can't deal the golem's damage, so we have to be really careful. I think my opponent can see the quicksand, but it doesn't matter. Maybe he can't, I don't remember. But he feels like that the angel is so important to kill that everything goes against the angel. That's because the gargoyles attacked it. And now, slowly but surely, fill the map. And truth be told, we can always use cloned units to take the Rito, and then, as you can see, I remember when playing PvP or something, I hate to be the golem's position, but luckily for me that's not something which I have to take. And that's about it. You know what's happening. And the last turn. From this turn, Frederick doesn't reach the infinite movement point effect, but Agar does. And now I take these fights to get the Statue of Legion. These type fights are not that important, but also how could I describe this? We do it for fun. It doesn't lose a turn for us. So these fights against Zidar, I think Boyd and I don't remember. Like the characters from the previous campaign. He was the Inferno hero who attacked us in our home, and we do this fight with aggressive spamming of Ice Bolt, which is a very useful spell and very strong. And he's just simply not enough strong to deal us any realistic damage. One. And the Dark Gem. That's the another illusion hero. Dark Gem is a very strong high level Dark Gem. What a surprise. So when he casts Air Shield, with the ashes we deal no damage. For some weird reason, maybe against some of the units, some of them is not that strong. But we can also cast some offensive spells which do the trick. Like we deal 1 damage on these sea man of the sea. And as you can see, the majority of our damage is taken by the lightning bolt. And I guess this fight is also pretty easy. Okay, and I think there was like one hero, Boyd. Also, another Curse Ground Necro fight. We had plenty of those. At this point we have TC, which means that even our magic arrow is pretty strong. And I wouldn't say that we hope, because we at this point we kinda know that the opponent really likes to fight against the automatons. They are their favorite. Or almost favorite. The favorite is their shooters, but we can hide the shooters with some creativity. And now that the first units are dead, we just run back and forth, and that's about it. I guess you know what will happen. Here we go. And with this point, I killed all the illusions. Now we can go to the final zone of the map. There's a gate with huge amount of units. This fight at the gate is horrendous. "40 titans. And also quick sandish map. Luckily for us, Titans have a favorite target. And also 80 Behemoths. Now the Behemoths have one weakness. I'm sure you know this. They are not very strong against quicksand, so they get stuck easily. The trick with the Titans that they want to hit the automatons so bad that they will leave the harpy. They will go for to hit the automatons, but they will get stuck. Big business. There is faster flying stack and there is a one slower one. We already dealt with the slower one. Faster one, sorry. But the slower one is not too difficult to handle either. And as you can see, I already knew that there will be a quicksand because I had to replay this fight like 2 or 3 times. As you can see, the Titans really like to go to kill these automatons, or maybe some other units, I don't know. But it's too late. And you already know what's happening. The behemoths can never reach me. And there we go. We give the to gate the last statue, and there are like 3 or 4 fights left. The first one, I don't know. There was something Kius, Breus, I don't know. Kotos, I guess. Okay, that's the second one. And the first one is, I think... Maybe I did not even record the first one. As I know that the map is almost over, I don't care that much about losses anymore. So in this fight, also we reached this area, and okay, this is the first one. This hero is a troglodyte specialist, but even when you're a troglodyte specialist, troglodytes are not too scary. Let's be real. So the actually scary units are the Koi. I think we have slow or something, but we can't really use it because like all of these heroes will. Yeah, and as you can see, we can sacrifice happily the unupgraded mechanics. They are a bait. And these weak troglodytes don't threaten me. We always have to hide in this corner because there are walls. One thing about this fight that we actually have to bring every unit here because we can't turn back after reaching this point of map. But this fight is pretty much over. Teleport and shooting. Cool combo. Let's see. Browse. Yeah, this is the second one. The last Curse Ground fight. As usual, Curse Ground fights can't go against as much units as normal fights because we can't use spells. Or all of the spells. But we don't need them. As usual, we try to deal with the fast units first. Agar is a Koiko specialist, so these Koikos deal ridiculous damage. And just as usual, we can sacrifice some of the mechanics. Or I don't know, usually it's the last 3 fight where we can actually do that. Another interesting thing that these heroes don't cast anything, so it feels like that we would play against some gate or I don't know. And I guess repairing everything. These puny slow units can never reach me. Okay, and let's see. Will I find the last fight? Gates, Ostragons, Togete, Aida, Elites, Akratus, Ascalabus, Azur. We all have seen those. If I can't find it, then no. I won't replay it again, but it's the last fight was another quicksand fight. Here we go. I find it. It was in a different file. Excuse me. Kotus. And as you can see, I guess I can show it here. He has insane amount of units, but most of them is not very strong against quicksand. Unfortunately, sometimes we are not lucky with quicksand. And also because this is the last important fight. There is one actual last fight against like 420 Koi, but you know, we can finish that fight even in auto game, or I don't know what it's called. So we can actually lose units and don't care about it. We have to be somewhat lucky with quicksand, but this is a relatively safe spot now because the opponent will go into this quicksand, and this is a relatively safe spot because the opponent will go these quicksands. The lucky quicksand is this one, so this is now a huge safe spot. And our units are just fast to beat the Hydra. The other units are faster than ours, but the Hydra is just slow. I guess at this point everyone knows that the Hydras are jokes as a level 7 unit. Oh no. Our slow units are slowly dying. Obviously we are can't do anything against this, but it's pretty whatever. Three or four stacks is fast and can fly, and we teleport the last one. And the remainder of our army is enough to finish the map, so I know that a lot of players really hate that having any of the losses, but for me this is the best part of the map, because you can do whatever you want. Almost. The last fight, when you don't have to resurrect and repair everything and everyone. You just rush through. I had no idea why I didn't shot with the clone, but I guess because I stand next to the enemy unit and I thought that I can't shot, but now I realize I do. My maybe because of the debuff of the sharpshooter, which I already gathered. Shot. And I guess we deal the final blow. Not a very really well flowed fight, but you know. As you can see, swarm koi. Really hyper optimized fight. Thanks for watching.